Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi. Tonight we'll tell you how social media helped the spread of the students' protest for affordable fees. We went to the My World of Tomorrow and the Wired Women conferences. In studio we have Michelle Lesuos from iSchool Africa to tell us about their initiatives. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We're on News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. South African students use the power of social media hashtags to assist their fight for affordable education. It wasn't the first time students have protested for affordable education. What was different this time is that social media assisted the students to get some of their demands from the country's leaders. The hashtag Wits fees will fall became fees must fall. Then there was a national shutdown, and finally fees have fallen. The fast spread and the scale of the protests would probably never have happened without the assistance of social media and the conversations it brings. The conversation on the cost of university education still continues in social media. The hashtag fees must fall continues to trend, despite President Jacob Zuma announcing that there will be a 0% increase next year.
I think it's helped to actually spread the momentum. I think, seeing the movement move from WITS to UCT to Stellenbosch and so on and so forth, social media has played a critical part in just helping people connect with each other over this message.
As the protests were happening in different universities and outside Parliament in Cape Town, Luthuli House in Johannesburg and the Union Buildings in Pretoria, many engaged in conversations about what was going on through social media and the use of hashtags.
Hashtags perform a very functional role, although I think in this particular instance they became political slogans. I think they became buzzwords to characterize the campaign. So they're not just hashtags. They've grown and moved beyond hashtags.
Those hashtags, they've helped many students. They've helped to raise issues and also to attract other students to come on board.
Student leaders at WITS, the university that started these protests, also used their Twitter accounts to explain their intentions with what was happening. Students were telling their own stories in social media, and those following it didn't need to wait for big media houses to act as a third party and give them their own mediated versions of this story. This time, because of the power of the hashtag, traditional media could get to the source easier and quickly.
Following those hashtags to interact with the students, to hear their side of the story. When we go to the campus, it makes it easy for us to communicate with them.
And traditional media could be kept in check by those protesting should they get any of the facts wrong, or should their representation of the students and their cause be seen to be unfair.
As an individual sitting back and reading the story through social media, I've gotten perspectives I would have never had through the mainstream media. And I think what we've also seen this week is a lot of criticism of the mainstream media and the way in which they framed particular aspects of the story, in that students were able to give their own input and rebut and respond to individual articles, individual media houses.
Because of social media, we have seen people in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, in England, in America and other parts of the world engaging on a South African students' protest. Because of the power of the hashtag, more protests were organized overseas in solidarity with students in South Africa. And the conversation and call for affordable education continues on Twitter, Facebook and other social media platforms. Business Connection held its annual My World of Tomorrow Expo this week. This is where innovators get a chance to show off their latest creations, and we got to have a sneak peek of what tomorrow's world will look like.
Driving simulators, electric running luxury vehicles and car-sharing networks, these were some of the latest technology inventions on display at the My World of Tomorrow Expo held at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg.
There's different innovators here, so you're going to see a combination of different things. You've got your regular service providers like your HP and your Cisco who are all here today, and then you've got innovators like Locommute. So like you've got Uber today. Locommute is a company that if you want to hire a car for 45 minutes, you can. Go and see Locommute stand. They'll tell you all about themselves.
And off to the stand we went to find out more about this Locommute.
When you sign up, you get logins to your app, you download an app, on the App Store, on the Google Play Store, and you can locate your car. You locate the nearest car to you, and you simply book the car, and you get to the car, and you punch in your PIN code. So it's a security measure, you know. Not anybody can start the car, so you punch in your PIN code, and off you go. You drive to the nearest destination.
Another automobile invention that had a number of people flocking its stand was the race car driving simulator, the Hexathron.
This is what is a 6-star driving simulator. It's called a Hexathron. It's actually a realistic driving simulation of what a Formula 1 driver or a rally driver would train on.
My World of Tomorrow was in its second year. It opened its stores on the 22nd and ended on the 24th of October.
Women from all over Africa were in conversation about their role in technology. They met in the center of Johannesburg for the Wired Women Conference.
Debbie Edelstein's dream of uniting women in tech has become a reality. With her leadership, Wired Women Conference was held at the Pactonian Hotel last week. Their leaders in technology, both men and women, discussed how technology is being used as a disruptor in most industries. The discussion also touched on how women can contribute in technology space and how they are affected.
The particular contribution that women bring to tech is also different. They have more of a focus on socio-economic issues, on making a difference, on mentoring, on role modeling, on encouraging younger women. So for me, what I've seen grown over the years is a great emphasis on collaboration and on mentoring and on including other voices. And I think women are particularly good at that.
Some speakers at the conference gave talks about their personal journeys. Their stories were to encourage women to take up IT as a career.
We need to get more and more women to embrace IT as a career. I think if you go look at the universities, the number of women who take computer science versus the number of boys is very, very unbalanced. And so my view is that, and that's, kind of the role that myself and people who are in IT need to play, is encouraging women to think about IT as a career.
Edelstein says she hopes that conferences like Wired Women will keep conversations about women in tech going beyond the meetings.
Let's take a short break. After the break, we're going to talk about iSchool Africa with Michelle Lisworth. Stay with us.
SABC brings to you Rugby World Cup 2015.
We ask tough questions.
Have you spoken to the president about resigning?
We ask hard questions.
What you're trying to do requires a lot of money and you don't have money.
We ask quick questions.
A quick one. You are aware that the PAC has now been banned by the IEC?
I'm aware.
And you're also aware that it has been banned because of you.
We ask good questions.
Are you an infiltrated organization?
We also ask funny questions.
Is it safe to eat your chicken?
All the questions, all the time, right here on Question Time, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m.
Your destiny is not determined by the township you come from.
The one place we will find movers and shakers is in the township. It's just that they're diamonds in the rough and some of them don't even know it.
Being young with no experience in business is a challenge that Bulelani took upon himself.
I was motivated by the prayer. I was motivated by the love.
To be a novice in business was tough, but experience made him a businessman of note.
It took me 7 years to make my first million. I've got all the scars to prove that I started with nothing.
A journey well traveled.
For me, that is the one major thing. The ability to touch other people's lives. Nothing goes beyond that.
Join your host Puleng Mulebati on Bopilong every Saturday at 5:30 p.m.
This is Rights and Recourse.
This act says we are all the same, we are all equal before the law.
I have a fundamental problem with her saying that traditional leaders are recognized as the de facto owners of the land. that isn't in the Constitution, nor is it in any law.
Unpacking your legal rights and cost of action.
The Constitution starts from the point that we are one country and that we need to have a system that actually consolidates that, but also recognizes the different compositions of different communities.
With due respect to Aninka, I know she is happy that her queen in England, she's the owner of the whole land, she's not having any politics.
Chief Mukwena, we will get to some of the other issues.
You must throw that Aninka's Queen of England. Please, that's completely unacceptable.
That's Rights and Recourse, Sundays at 2 p.m. on the SABC News channel.
Good. Point. Sit.
Get behind Rugby World Cup 2015 on SABC.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, a new study shows that internet usage amongst Kenyan women is really low. The same study also shows that in Kenya, it's the students that use the internet the most. The findings were revealed by the International Association of Women in Radio and Television.
The International Association of Women in Radio and Television conducted a survey in several world capitals. In Africa, these were Maputo, Kampala, Yaoundé, Lagos, Cairo and Nairobi. In Kenya, the study has found that mobile internet is really low among women and suggests that this needs to improve and clear ICT policies can help. But while this is the case, we do know that there are local women who are trying to help other women in this regard, like Dr. Shiko Gitau, who helps rural women find jobs through the use of technology.
We typed the whole CV on her mobile phone, on a small, QWERTY Nokia phone.
A problem cited by the study, though, is that smartphone penetration is low in Kenya. This means women don't really have web-enabled devices to access the internet. Only 2% of Kenyan women without formal education have access to mobile internet. But there are initiatives like FacebookInternet.org that plan to provide free internet access to Africa.
Free and better internet will improve lives. That's it. It will help in all the sectors: education, health, government, business, corporates. It's here.
Another suggestion is that rural and peri-urban women need to have e-centers for better internet access that will allow women like Leila Khalif, who started Takwetu, a better chance of utilizing the internet for their growth.
I find myself even wanting to learn more, take online classes on coding and different things so that I can know exactly what is going into my business.
In order to create many success stories like this one, the Kenyan government is urged to train women on how to use the internet.
Apple South Africa's iSchool Africa has held various initiatives to help South African kids get technology skills. They've been helping township schools learn to fly planes and move cars using tablets. Recently, iSchool Africa held its Apple in Education Awards. Joining us in studio is Michelle Lesuas. She is the director of iSchool Africa. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network, Michelle.
Good evening, and thanks for having me here this evening.
Could you just tell us what the purpose of iSchool Africa actually is?
So iSchool Africa is a program. We currently work in 160 schools across South Africa, mainly township and rural schools. And our absolute belief and our passion is to give under-resourced schools and disadvantaged schools and really the most remote learners that wouldn't have a chance otherwise the opportunity to engage in the best technology. And so we live in a world where you cannot not achieve your potential without technology. So our mission in iSchool Africa is to make sure that these learners have this opportunity, and we try to bridge that divide between learners who do have and learners who don't have, and that's really what we do in iSchool Africa.
I mentioned just one initiative where kids are flying school planes and moving cars. Could you just tell us about some of the initiatives that you've had?
And the main initiative is, and that's really our mantra, is integrating technology and iPads into the everyday teaching and learning. So we have the exciting stuff like using iPads to code and using iPads, which you covered, to program cars. But the main thing is using iPads and technology in everyday teaching and learning, because that's what the rest of the world is doing. So if you go to a rural school in KZN or township school in Tembisa, you will see iPads in maths, in English, in science. And that is the main crux of our initiative.
And how do you pick the schools that you work with?
The schools are picked on various different criteria. The main criteria is that ISCO Africa partners with government, and we partner with corporate sponsors. So some of our corporate sponsors have various criteria. So it's whether they have factories in an area or whether it needs to be rural. But we choose schools according to different criteria. They need to be functional schools. They need to want to be part of the program. The principal needs to have buy-in to the program. But mainly it's really under-resourced schools and who are willing to learn and teachers are motivated to be part of the program.
And when the kids pick up these gadgets, are they willing to learn?
Oh, wow. I invite you and your audience to see it changes lives. I mean, kids don't need to learn how to learn to use the devices. They take it like this. So our program really focuses on teacher training. And we teach the teachers to use the devices, to use the iPads, but also how to use the devices to teach. And it changes lives. We've got a lot of schools that are actually for deaf children or children with disabilities, and we just see changed lives. But when you see our learners in a remote rural area switch on the iPad for the first time and get this world opens up for them, it really makes everything worthwhile.
Let's talk about that for a second, because there's been a lot of conversations about teachers learning how to use this technology, so whether technologies are replacing teachers. Do you find that, you're mentioning that it changes children's lives, but do you find that teachers are as willing as the kids to learn how to use them and to teach the kids?
I think technology will never, ever replace teachers. It just changes the role of teachers. And people say, oh, but old teachers won't take it up. They've been teaching the same way for so many years. We don't see that. Part of the process is a change management process, and there are teachers who've been teaching the same for so many years. But once teachers see the benefit, we need to show them the benefit, and then they take on the learning. But I think the key thing of any technology program is teacher training. And I think that's the most important thing, is you can't just expect teachers to start using devices in the classroom. So ISCO Africa makes sure that we teach teachers how to use it and how it will benefit them in their teaching. And that's critical.
And do you leave these devices in the schools?
Yes.
All right, so they're there for the kids and for the teachers to play around with every single day.
And we make sure that the right security is in place, and the right monitoring is in place, and the right ownership is in place, and the right accountability is in place, and that's all part of the ISCO Africa program.
You recently held awards.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about those.
So every year we have the Apple and Education Awards, and this is ISCO Africa, but it's also private, rural and township awards. And this year we had 70 schools entering with over 1,000 entries. And the challenge here is to use Apple technology to create projects to bring learning alive. So, for example, you would use an animation to bring your favorite history or literary character to life, or a science experiment to life. And we have international and local judges, and we have this prestigious award ceremony that we really give accolade and status to the learners and teachers who have achieved status in creating creating something extraordinary out of the ordinary in teaching and learning. And I think we have to remember that technology is changing the way we live, the way we work, and it also has to change the way we teach and learn. And these awards acknowledge that.
Where are these schools? Can I go back to school? And
I know. When I think of how I had to learn science, and now I think it would be very different.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd love you to come visit a school. It is just, what we see is learners are more engaged, teachers are more motivated, and the teachers always say to us that absenteeism has decreased, discipline has improved. You know, we're giving tools to students that are the tools we know. We've seen students with their technology, we've seen them with their phones. Now we're giving that to them to learn, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. And when you held these awards a couple of days ago, could you just tell us about some of the ideas that impressed you that the high school kids came up with?
Yeah, there's a winner of a category called Bring Your Favorite Historical Literary Character to Life was a small grade. He was a 10-year-old from St Andrews in Grahamstown, and he brought Winston Churchill to life in 2015. So they had Winston Churchill having an interaction with David Cameron in an animation made from clay.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, is the scripting, the animation, the movie making, which was amazing. And then we also had an eye photography competition that students could take photographs, and we had a learner from Mpumalanga, a really remote rural village with no electricity, winning quite a few categories, and it was her first time in the big city coming to Johannesburg to get the awards, and for me that was also a highlight. Another award was we had the Artistic Excellence Awards, which is if you go onto our website you'll be able to see the winners. Just the use of graphical interface by a grade 10 user. It's amazing what our learners today can do with technology.
I suppose it's also going to help them pick careers for the future as well.
Yeah. But I think what we're seeing now is you cannot have any career without technology.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we're preparing our learners for, jobs that didn't exist 10 years ago. And I think that's what's critical. And we believe at iSchool Africa that every single learner, whether in township or rural, it deserves that opportunity.
All right. Michelle Lesuas, Director of iSchool Africa, thank you very much for joining us and being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. Let's take a short break and we'll be back right after this.
Looking for social issues?
It is not our intention to give condoms to 10-year-old children.
We are here to assist you. Looking for religious issues?
The point is not for the church to try and prove whether this is the fact.
So we want accountability. Is there a system of governance in your churches?
Political issues.
Barack Obama said Africa should stop looking to the outside for salvation and focus on someone else being at fault for the problems of the continent.
Economic issues.
The young mothers, single mothers that's buying property now.
Or just looking to air your views.
Here are some of your views on social media.
Look no further, as Newsroom has all the informative information you need. Weekdays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News channel.
When bees and wasps sting a person, they inject a bitterness venom in their skins.
We have about 3 spider species in South Africa that we have to worry about. Button spiders, which include, the black widow spiders, your sac spiders, and your violent spiders.
That venom is in your system, it's in your muscle tissue. And the more your heart beats, the faster your heart beats, the faster the blood is going to circulate, and consequently it's going to get that venom into your system faster.
If you see a snake like this, the best thing to do is to just stay away from it and contact somebody that specializes in removing venomous snakes.
Join me on Health Talk every Saturday morning between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. as we unpack current health stories.
SABC brings to you Rugby World Cup 2015.
Let's do this.
Welcome back. Let's see what some people have been sharing in social media. Mayor Must Fall has been trending in South Africa. This is after the Springboks lost to New Zealand in their Rugby World Cup semi-final. Protea Fire has been dominating because of South Africa's cricket success. They made 438 for 4 to beat India, who could only manage 224 for 10. Tanzania Decides is the hashtag that's dominating in East Africa. This happens as Tanzanians choose their next president. Polling stations have been packed. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. From me, Pumela Zondi and the rest of the network team. Have a good one. We leave you with more visuals of the Fees Must Fall protests.